All right, these are the vocab 3 words. So the first one here, abominate, to have an intense dislike or hatred for. This is a pretty good synonym. Same thing with loathe. You can see the noun form is abomination, so you might hear that more often actually. But it just means something that you really cannot stand. You would refer to it as an abomination, or say you abominate it. Acculturation here, modification of social patterns, traits, or structures of one group by contact with another. You see the word culture in here, which is helpful. So typically, adaptation is pretty good too. So if two groups of people meet and blend, they will kind of share traits with one another and both learn. So that's where the term acculturation comes from. Adventitious, this one is often confused with inadvertent, which I'll talk about in a second. Resulting from chance rather than from an inherent cause or character. Accidental. Fortuitous is pretty good. So if something happens adventitiously, it's really not planned. So the word, like the word event almost is in there. So it's like something that just occurs. So if you run into a friend in an unlikely place or something like that, or you're walking to school and you found $5, then that is adventitious. So it requires no action on your own. It's just an occurrence that happens. That's usually a good thing. So hopefully that's helpful. Number 4, ascribe here, to assign or refer to. Attribute is a better definition here, or credit. So I ascribe my love of English to the fact that my mom is an English teacher, so I get those traits from her. Or maybe if you're like a sports team fan, maybe your parents like that sports team, so you ascribe your love of that to them. Circuitous, roundabout or not direct. So you see the word circuit in there. Indirect is pretty good too. So if you take a circuitous route, it means you take the long way around. So that one's pretty easy if you just see that little circuit in the route there. Commiserate, to sympathize with. So you see like the word misery is almost in there. So typically to feel sorry for somebody. So usually if you have experienced something that the person has and you understand how they're feeling, then you commiserate with them. So when I tore my ACL, it gave me a new respect, I don't know if that's the right word, a new empathy or sympathy for people who also do that, because it's pretty miserable. So commiserate just means to share in an experience with somebody and understand how they feel. Number 7, enjoin, to direct or order. So you're trying to get somebody to do something. To bid is pretty good, I guess, like you bid somebody to do something. I don't know, maybe your parents enjoin you to eat your vegetables or something, but it just means to try to get somebody to do something. Expedite, you see this pretty often now, to make easier or cause to progress faster. Accelerate's pretty good, or speed up. So Expedia, that website that allows you to book like a flight and a hotel in the same place, so it's supposed to make that process easier for you. When you order something online, you can choose expedited shipping, so it gets to you faster. So it just means to make something go faster. Not to be confused with expiate, to make up for. So this typically means redeem is pretty good. If you do something to wrong somebody, you do something to expiate your guilt. So the word guilt is almost always involved in this sentence. So say, I don't know, you break somebody's belonging and then you purchase them a new one to expiate your guilt. Ferment or ferment here, multiple pronunciations. The one you're going to see most likely would be the verb form. You're not going to see the produce alcohol one on your quiz, I promise you that. This is the one that you're going to most likely see. To work into a state of agitation. So after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, everybody was caught up in the ferment, the excitement, or the city was fermented, or the people were fermented into a state of agitation or excitement. So it just means to work somebody up into a commotion. It could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing, but it just means a lot of excitement. Number 11, inadvertent. So this is very similar to adventitious. They both have accidental in the definition. And you'll see that here. It's very confusing. But the difference is this, if you do something carelessly and then it causes an undesired response. So with adventitious, it's just something that happens. You have to do nothing to cause the thing to happen. Inadvertent means you're performing an action and the result that you get from that action is very different than what you want. So I don't know, if you're throwing a ball to somebody and you accidentally hit somebody else, you were careless and you did not mean to do that. You did it inadvertently. So this requires some action on the part of the person committing the event. and then the result is not one that he or she desires. Nominal, existing in name only, or too small to be considered or taken seriously. So like a library fine is a nominal fee. It's like 10 cents or something like that. Or sometimes if you go visit something, they'll ask for a nominal donation of $1 or $2, so they can raise some money. This one, existing in name only, if there is like some sort of organization that has a figurehead as like their leader, but that person doesn't really do much, they would be the nominal leader of the group, while behind the scenes somebody would do all of the work. Non-committal here, it just literally means not willing to commit, so not decisive or definite. So if you remain non-committal on a decision, you're just not willing to pick one side or the other. 14, peculate, to steal something, but this part is important, that has been given into one's trust. So misappropriate's pretty good. You see this a lot in the news if like a treasurer of an organization has been stealing money slowly and using it for his or her own good. So somebody who is trusted with some sort of good and then steals that good. So if you rob a bank, you're not peculating because they're not trusting you with that. But if maybe a bank employee has been slowly taking money out of the register for years, that person would be peculating the money. Proclivity, natural inclination or tendency. This word is actually extremely common. It just means that you are naturally good at something. So typically, people who are very athletic have a proclivity toward sports. People who are very smart have a proclivity toward things that require intelligence, so school or board games or puzzles. But it just means you are naturally good at something. Sang-froid, poise or self-assurance. This is just like aplomb, which we had earlier. Composure, especially in trying circumstances. So somebody who has a lot of sang-froid is cool under fire. So that person, despite maybe being in a tough position, does a really good job and handles it with composure. 17, seditious, resistant to lawful authority, so like the Alien and Sedition Acts. Mutinous or rebellious are both pretty good. So somebody who is seditious would try to overthrow or sabotage whatever organization they belong to. Number 18, tenuous. Thin and slender you'll see sometimes, but what you see most often more relates to like this down here, so flimsy. So it usually just means like weak. So it's almost always used metaphorically. So if you have a tenuous relationship with somebody, it means it's not very strong, but it could be literal as well. So if you're trying to like rappel down a wall with some yarn, the yarn is probably tenuous and would probably snap, but it's almost always used metaphorically to represent like vague or hazy, not very strong or clear. Vitriolic, bitter or sarcastic. So the satire that you're writing right now might be vitriolic. You see the noun form a lot, which is vitriol, which literally just means like anger that you kind of throw at somebody. I mean, it's almost always used through words. So all of these words, withering, acerbic, or mordant, all mean like damaging. So just something that's very mean. See, this person here was hurt by it. So usually there's a little more mean-spirited and bitter than like maybe a Horatian satire. The last one, wheedle, using coaxing or flattery to gain a desired end. Sweet talk is a pretty good synonym. So you're giving somebody a lot of comments so that they hopefully give you whatever you want. So if you're a fan of Survivor, this happens a lot on Survivor, which is why it's one of my favorite shows ever. But just flattering somebody to try to get what you want.